It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Did you watch every NHL game last night? Of course not. That's impossible. So Locked On brings you Locked On Game-to-Game NHL. With Locked On Game-to-Game NHL, we take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. And by the end, it's as though you were at every game. Find Locked On Game-to-Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Game-to-Game NHL, taking you to every arena for every game with the local experts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The week of the NHL trade deadline is officially upon us, people, and fantasy playoffs are just around the corner. It's time to get very serious, and it's time to tap in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Monday edition. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hockey heads, degenerate gamblers, and fantasy fanatics, welcome back to your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Monday edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele and Flip. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available across all platforms you find your favorite and hottest content. So make sure you are checking us out every single week. Fantasy news is always huge on Monday, Steele. We've said it before and we will say it again, especially over this stretch of the NHL season. Friday, NHL trade deadline, 3 o'clock. There's going to be a lot of shuffling of the board over the next couple of days, Steele. And that is going to be huge for fantasy GMs. Couple of trades over the weekend. We're going to talk about that right off the top of the show. Nino Niederreiter, Ivan Barbashev. These might be boosts in the fantasy value. I want your take on that. Big time bets, of course, and a juicy waiver wire Monday. I hope that you like the targets that I have. I got a goalie. I got a couple of young forwards and a veteran forward. Welcome back from the weekend, my friend. Let's get right into it. What do you think of these trades? Where do you want to go? You want to go Nino and Nashville over to Winnipeg, or do you want to talk about this Barbashev trade to the Vegas Golden Knights?
Let's start with the Winnipeg Jets trade, acquiring Nino Niederreiter from the Nashville Predators. The Predators get a 2024 second-round pick. Nothing too big out of this, but I think it's a really strong move for the Winnipeg Jets and where they're sort of heading with their postseason goals in mind. Obviously, the terrible news that Cole Perfetti is out for the next 8 weeks as well.
Yep.
Kind of maybe force this trade for the Winnipeg Jets to kind of get a little bit bolstering up in their either the second or third line for Nino Niederreiter. But, again, Perfetti being a winger, Niederreiter being a winger, I think that we've seen the talent and veteran sort of presence from Nino Niederreiter when he signed with the Nashville Predators. And now that's going over to the Winnipeg Jets. They get a little bit of a boost up front to kind of just add the pieces they need with already the star talent they have in Ehlers, Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler as well, Josh Morrissey having a career year. So I think, just adding a little depth guy that can help with Cole Perfetti being out for the next 8 weeks is a good move.
I think they just needed to go for it. I think they're in good positioning to, they're going to be in the first round of the playoffs. You never know, right? The playoffs start and you can take a run. This team has a good goaltender, like you said, talented on the blue line this year with the big year from Morrissey. Why not bolster that offense with a move? Nino Niederreiter had his shot in Nashville, but Nashville really has been disappointing overall this year, Steele, especially offensively. And that injury to Johansson, now they move on from Niederreiter already. I can see Fabbri going. I could see maybe a couple of their other peripheral pieces that have been mentioned, and they really stand pat, try to shuffle the deck a little bit for a new year next year. But this really just is it for me, for the Jets. Like that Cole Perfetti injury, I know everyone knows what I think about Cole Perfetti and his value fantasy-wise. This is a huge opportunity for Nino Niederreiter and his fantasy value. If he can slot in the top 6 in Winnipeg and really, get comfortable in the likes of Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, obviously Kyle Connor, and otherwise, that could be huge for Nino Niederreiter. Keep your eyes on that situation. Week to week, I might even go out there and try and fill a hole if I have an injury slot fill in. on the wing. Nino Niederreiter is going to start getting some serious rushes with some good players, but the St. Louis Blues continue to sell off their pieces. We knew Barbashev was going to be another one of those guys still on the move, and here he is, 29 points on the year, and I think maybe more so people were talking about him as a way to really bolster an offense because at 10 goals, 19 assists, there's not too much there, but a lot to like about his game, and again, going to the Vegas Golden Knights, I think this improves his value because he's going to get a big opportunity here for a team that's right in the mix for the top playoff spot in that division.
Yeah, I would really like to see where he slots in this Vegas Golden Knights lineup as well. I know they have a bunch of injuries. Logan Thompson being out, Aiden Hill day-to-day, Laurent Brossoit is back in the crease for them, Mark Stone out as well. So they have a ton of injuries, and they've dealt with a ton of injuries this year. So I'm very curious to see where he gets slotted in. He's not one of those guys that really stands out to me. Again, like one of those third liners that you kind of acquire for depth purposes, obviously to continue for your goals in the postseason. What I really like actually is the St. Louis Blues getting Zach Dean, and quickly didn't really know much about him. So I searched up his stats, and he's playing pretty good in the QMJHL for the Gatineau Olympics, and a 20-year-old centerman, which they do need some help down the stretch or down the lineup for third or fourth line centerman. So they get a young player who is on the verge of making an NHL career. So I think it's a good move for both teams. And like you said, the St. Louis Blues are just sellers at this point. They've pretty much sold 25-30% of like their best players on their team. And it was a foregone conclusion that Ivan Barbashev was the next guy to go.
I think I've been clear on this show that I don't know what it is about the Vegas Golden Knights, and I got to give them respect because they are a fairly solid built team back to front, and the blue line I think is the strength of the team, and that's not really a bold take. I don't know. I'm not going to buy into it when I see other teams around them like the Colorado Avalanche and, even obviously some teams on the Eastern Conference side of things. I don't see them really making it through the playoffs. Maybe it's because Logan Thompson is unproven. I'm not seeing it. And I know they've been in first place for most of the year. And that's probably, I got to back it up with something. Just not feeling it. But it's a move that brings more depth to a team that already has a lot of it. So let's see what it can do. Keeper dynasty, though, I'd keep your eye out on Barbashev because he could go on a little bit of a heater and he might be a nice piece to end your season off. Otherwise, I would say wait and see where he slots in, like Steele said. Very good point there. Speaking of slotting in, we got to slot in these waiver wire targets, Steele. I got 4 guys on the list here. I've been all over the map here. I've been all over the map with my guys because I'm really trying to capitalize on games here down the stretch. Week to week, if I'm filling in, I want the guys playing the most games, and I'll take a little bit less quality overall, a less sexy name for an extra game or two of just sheer volume and shots and goals and whatnot. Hit me with who you're looking at on the waiver wire this week before we get to big time bets because I'm ready for a big week there as well.
I am also ready for a big week. I need to start making some money, heading to Vegas soon. So Black 20, baby. That's the first bet. But before we get to waiver wire targets, do want to mention for any fantasy owners out there who have Alex Tuck in their lineup, he is out indefinitely. The Buffalo Sabres are losing a big piece of their lineup. So definitely look towards some Buffalo Sabre guys to move up the lineup and kind of fill that slot, get some chances on that top line for the right wing. Peyton Krebs, Jack Quinn, a couple of guys that
JJ Peterka.
A lot of guys, a lot of young guys that you can keep an eye out for the Buffalo Sabres. But
that's tough news for the Sabres.
Yeah, bad news for them as they make a push for a playoff spot. But my first waiver wire target is a defenseman in the Western Conference, actually. I'm looking at Cam Fowler of the Anaheim Ducks.
Yes, Steele.
Again, I don't know why I continue. I said I wouldn't go back to the Anaheim Ducks, but I continue to go back to them because some of these guys are catching hot, and they're getting hot right now. 20% rostered in fantasy leagues. Fowler has 8 points in his last 6 games for the Ducks. Again, he's not a reliable defenseman when it comes to the peripheral stats. You really don't know what you're going to get out of him. He could have a game with 0 shots, 1 block, and 0 hits, and then the next game he goes off for 2 assists and 5 shots. You don't really know with the peripheral stats, but he's hot right now. 8 points in his last 6 games, 2 goals. And the Anaheim Ducks have 3 games this week, Blackhawks, Capitals, and Canadiens. So it's not a very hard schedule for them. All 3 of these teams are pretty bad right now, especially the Capitals and Canadians. But yeah, Blackhawks, with Patrick Kane and Sam Lafferty out of the lineup as well, that kind of hurts their chances. So Cam Fowler, if you need some bolstering up on the defense, if guys injured, I'm looking at him for this upcoming week.
Yeah, putting up points, and you're going to have to get lucky too right now, Steele. If you are having to fill in a body, especially on the blue line, play the odds. Play a guy who's playing pretty good right now in Cam Fowler. The Ducks have played a lot better over the last couple of weeks. Yes, are they still the worst team in the league? Probably. Are they going to allow a lot of goals? Oh, yeah, they are. But Cam Fowler's getting points, and the team is scoring a little bit right now. Top six is feeling it. So you can jump on those those micro situations to really make some loot. We want to talk about some macro situations for some deliciousness with our friends from AG1 at Athletic Greens. Today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens and AG1. And this is one of those products that Steele and I love to use every single day. And we started taking AG1. Sometimes, you're a little groggy in the afternoons. You don't want to go to that caffeine hit. You got to go some AG1, put it in a smoothie. It's lifestyle friendly. It helps you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free or gluten-free, whatever it is, it'll help you stay healthy with whatever diet you're following. Contains 1 gram of sugar or less, no nasty chemicals, artificial anything, and it still tastes delicious. It helps you sleep good. It helps you think better. It helps you stay focused at work, and it helps you age with grace. Athletic Greens uses the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testings. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews online and is recommended by professional athletes around the world. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition with just 1 scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do, hit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
This is David Harrison from the Locked On Commanders podcast, and this episode is brought to you by US Cellular. At US Cellular, they know phones are great, but they're not always great for us. Sure, they connect us to so much, but they also distract us from, us. The us that actually laughs out loud with each other instead of just texting it, that knows being in the same room doesn't always mean being together. So let's find us again by putting our phones down for 5 days, 5 hours, even 5 minutes. Join US Cellular in the Phones Down for 5 challenge. Find out more at uscellular.com/findus.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, which includes YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, and stay locked in because the NHL trade deadline is this Friday, March 3rd. So join us live on the Locked On NHL YouTube channel from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time as the Locked On NHL hosts from every team break down the biggest deals from across the league. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Flip, super excited for this upcoming weekend. I love the trade deadline. I love seeing who's going where. And what teams are very serious about making a postseason push for the Stanley Cup, what teams are selling, very excited. But what are you looking at? We'll get back to the waiver wire targets. Who's your first guy that you're looking at for this upcoming week?
It's a guy that was mentioned briefly last week, Steele, as a sticking point in a potential trade for Timo Meier. Headed to the San Jose Sharks, a guy in Dawson Mercer who has caught fire of late, almost heard his name mentioned in trades and said, I ain't going to San Jose. I'm staying right here in the young mix of this New Jersey Devils team. And let me just take a quick sniff at this deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 goals over his last 5 games. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes,
8 goals over his last 5 games. Thank you very much. And 2 assists. He's on absolute fire. He's playing on the top line with Nico Hischier. He's getting second power play time. He's only owned at 14% right now in ESPN Steele, a little bit higher in Yahoo. And he's got 3 games this week. The New Jersey Devils have a good schedule. And I really, really like what I'm starting to see from Dawson Mercer. The Devils don't want to move on from this kid for a reason, and he's really proving it right now. I would say jump on him while he's hot. 3 points against the LA Kings, and then another goal most recently against the Flyers. He's on a heater right now.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, he heard his name getting brought up in this trade to San Jose, and he's like, ain't no way I am going
I'm cup
over
chasing,
there.
baby.
I am going to start heating up right now. He did it at the perfect time. My next guy, Boston Bruins player, I'm looking at David Krejci, 28% rostered on Yahoo. Okay. He's over 60% on ESPN. So very unlikely you can get him on ESPN, maybe in a trade because he isn't one of those top tier guys. So could get him at a decent price maybe. But 28% rostered on Yahoo, 4 points in his last 3 games. He's up to 47 points on the season. And of course, when you're playing with a guy like David Pastrnak on the second line, you're going to get a ton of points. Same thing that I said about Cam Fowler is you don't really know what you're going to get with David Krejci for the peripheral stats. He only has 83 shots, 33 hits, and 31 blocks. So it kind of comes and goes with those peripheral stats, but you know the plus minus is going to be positive. You know he's going to chip in with the apples. He's going to chip in with a couple of goals here and there. Some power play points too. And of course, when you're playing with David Pastrnak and sometimes you can jump up and play with Marchand and Bergeron on the power play, you're going to get a ton of points. He's hot right now. And the Bruins have 4 games this upcoming week. Oilers, Flames back-to-back to start. And then they've got the Buffalo Sabres and New York Rangers later in the week.
Very advantageous week for the Boston Bruins offensively as well, I would say, Steele. And they just got that little bump. This team is building itself to go on a deep playoff run. I'm not talking 1 or 2 series. It's Stanley Cup or bust, considering how good they've been. They bring in the grit, size, and winning caliber. Those are guys that have won Stanley Cups as well, Steele, and I think that's what people are forgetting. Those are veteran players that have been around. Dmitry Orlov has a cup. I have a feeling Garnet Hathaway was on the team as well.
I believe he was as well.
I think he got himself a ring. So these are guys who have been deep in the playoffs as well. I love those moves for the Boston Bruins. Does it hurt me as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan to say that? Oh, yeah, it does, because they also got tougher again, Steele. A team that's already – anyway, get yourself a piece of the Bruins while you can. I love the angle because they're jazzed up as well and a good week. Speaking of a good week, I think you and I mentioned it when we said Cam Talbot was going to come back and immediately get most of the run out. I know, so is it Sogard? I always mix up the
Matt Sogard, yes.
Sogard in Ottawa has looked pretty good as well, though, in his opportunity. So maybe he gets a little bit more of the play than we thought, but I still think Cam Talbot is worth a good look in most formats, Steele, as an option for getting you at least some wins. This Ottawa team allows a lot of goals, a lot of special teams goals as well. Red Wings, they have twice this week, Steele. Then the Rangers, and then the Blue Jackets. 4 games. I'm saying Talbot takes at least 2 W's for you this week. I like Cam Talbot to bounce back. Was a little shaky in his first game back. 3 goals, 26 saves, 12 wins on the year, 905 save percentage. I like Talbot this week, and I actually like the Senators overall.
I like Talbot as well. That's why I've had him on my team for the last 2 months. He kept him on the IR. So I said this, we both said this last week that he's probably going to be getting most of the run out for the remainder of the season. Look, anything can happen. If they keep on winning games, they could keep this playoff race a little bit tighter, but it's a long shot. But Talbot's he's got to stand on his head and stay strong out there. Also, before I get to my next picks, actually, I do want to mention, couldn't pick one player from the team. I didn't really know who to pick. Okay. But the Detroit Red Wings have 5 games this upcoming week. They have the only 5 game schedule. There's not a lot of players to pick from, but 5 games, Ben Sherratt, Robby Fabbri, those type of guys
I like
that are under 40% owned. Maybe not any guys that are catching fire right now or on a heater, but 5 game schedule is very advantageous. So keep your eye on the Detroit Red Wings. My next guy actually comes from the Colorado Avalanche. JT Compher is having an unbelievable season. But looking at your face right now, he has to be on your list. Is he on your list as well?
I have 2 Colorado Avalanche on my list, Steele. So thank you very much. And please continue down this path, because I also wanted to mention, who did you just mention before? Because I just clicked them off my list.
Robby Fabbri.
I had Fabbri is here as well. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Oh, didn't mean to take that. I'll let you talk about him, but I have JT Compher, 35% rostered on Yahoo, 26% on ESPN. He has 8 points in his last 4 games, 40 points on the season. And he has just been the most reliable second line centerman for the Colorado Avalanche this year. They needed him, obviously, with the big gap left from Nazem Kadri, all the injuries they've dealt with this year. He's been that second guy right behind Mikko Rantanen that has been dependable this year. 40 points on the season. He's great in multiple situations, penalty kill, second power play unit. He's actually on the first power play unit right now. Second, again, short. He's a threat on the PP and the penalty kill. Yep. And the Colorado Avalanche have 4 games this upcoming week. Vegas Golden Knights, Devils, Stars, and Kraken. I just really like JT Compher. I'm probably going to pick him up myself.
I like what's going on in Colorado in general, Steele. They are starting to play really good hockey. And honestly, one of the reasons why Alex Newhook has been a bit of a disappointment this year is Compher has taken that opportunity as the second line center and run with it, something that until lately, Newhook hasn't been able to do. And now he's starting to pick up steam as well, Steele. And that was my second Colorado Avalanche, because I just want a piece of what's going on in Colorado in general. They're starting to play really good hockey. And now Newhook is getting that second power play centerman time, and he's making the most of it. He's up to 13 goals on the season. He's got a couple of points, 2 points in his last 2 games. Deeper formats. I'm not saying go out there and drop someone for Newhook, but if you need some deep format love, even in a keeper dynasty, 4 games for the Colorado Avalanche. You mentioned this week, Steele. Newhook has looked a lot better over the last couple of weeks, even 2 months. And like I said, get yourself a piece of the Colorado Avalanche. Very quickly, my last one, Tampa Bay Lightning have 4 games this week. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are a very good hockey team. I'm not going to sit here and tell you why, because you watch hockey and you know this team is deep and they have the winning caliber. Alex Killorn, Steele, is getting rushes with Cirelli and Stamkos, and he's making the most of it. 17 minutes in ice time each night. He's getting a little bit more here and there. He chips in with some hits, some pims. He got 2 points in his last 2 games. 4 points in his last 4 games, and getting a lot of good looks on that second line with Stamkos and Cirelli. I like his game. 2 points in his most recent one. 4 games this week. You know where I'm going with this. Killorn only owned at 38% as well. Good fill-in for this week.
Yeah, he is definitely a good fill-in. A guy who just jumps up and down from the second and third line. And when he catches heat with Steven Stamkos, that line is a very deadly line for the Tampa Bay Lightning and any line in the NHL. We are going to get to big-time bets. I do have one last player for Waiver-Wire targets, but we have to talk about one of our favorite sponsors here, Built Bar. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. And if you're looking for a delicious, healthy treat, then you need to go right now and get some Built Bars. If you're like me, where you want to start eating healthier, go into the gym and everything, and you don't want to compromise the taste, then man, oh man, do I have just the thing for you right now. You got to go try Built. And with Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious. You won't think they're good for you, but they're actually the perfect snack before or after the gym. It is perfect for me. And why is it so perfect? Because it comes with 100% real chocolate. I love chocolate. I eat it every day, and I eat Built Bars every day as well. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond, and so much more. And now you don't even have to wait around and order from Built.com. You still can do that, but now you can go to your local Walmart or local Sam's Club and pick up a box right there. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Go grab some Built Bars and thank me later.
I'm Kainani Stevens, host of Locked On Game to Game NHL. Join me as I take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts' insight. By the end, it's as though you were at every game yourself. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We appreciate all the love, all the support from our listeners. Make sure you hit the sub button, hit the follow button, and get all the latest episodes Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. We are going to get to big time bets. I do have one last player, though. And I got to go back to my second favorite team in the NHL, Minnesota Wild, Ryan Hartman. Ryan Hartman, 48% on. I had to. He's catching heat right now. 48% on ESPN, 34% on Yahoo. I do feel bad for this guy, though. He's had a very rough season last year. And obviously, looking back at last year, he's coming off a career high, 34 goals, 65 points. And after a season like that, you build some expectations because that was his first time even getting past 30 goals. He doesn't even have a 20-goal season ever. He's always in single digits or even between 10 and 20 goals. First time getting over 34 goals. You build some expectations off of that leading into the next season, obviously playing with one of the best players in the NHL right now, Kirill Kaprizov.
Yes.
You got Matt Zuccarello. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to build off it. Nothing has gone his way up until this point. You know, the Wild started off with the worst week of their NHL season, losing like 4 games in a row, letting like 27 goals in. Hartman gets injured. He hurts his shoulder. He's only played 37 games this year after he was in a fight. He gets healthy scratched because of poor play. He gets bumped down to the 4th and 3rd line. It's been a very bad season, but now he's finally back on the top line where he wants to be. And he's got 3 goals, 5 points in his last 4 games. Actually, let me correct that because the Wild have now tied the game 2-2.
2 for Kirill the Thrill. 2
for Kirill the Thrill. He has an assist on the first goal. Don't know about the second one because it hasn't refreshed yet, but he has another assist. So that's 6 points in his last 4 games. And the Wild have, to me, a very advantageous schedule. Only 3 games on the schedule, but Islanders, Canucks, and Flames. The thing about the Wild, though, is that they have been scoring not a lot of goals recently, but they're only getting goals from their top line. Essentially, it's always coming from Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Boldy on the power play, but they're only getting it from the top line. Hartman's on the top line. He's hot right now. That's my final pick for waiver wire targets. Flip. I'm excited to hear what your first pick is, though, for big time bets. What are there? 5 games on the schedule for
5-game Monday board. Yep.
5-game Monday board. I know you were alluding to the Detroit Red Wings Ottawa Senators game. Is that in your top 3 or where are you starting with?
It is. And actually, that Kaprizov goal was quite solid for the old Sunday picks. We're recording early, as always, ahead of schedule. Man, we'll take that. Big Sunday already in the books for your boy.
Sir.
Check Twitter for all the latest. And when Steele was saying, drop us those subs, drop us the follows, I was just going to say, Steele, one of the things that I absolutely love is hearing from our listeners, hearing you guys in the comments, in the DMs, on the reviews on Spotify and Apple, even the ones that you guys aren't necessarily feeling it as much. Let us know. We are here for you, and we're trying to get better every single day. So make sure you drop us those reviews, 4 or 5 stars. Let us know what you're feeling. I am feeling this spot at home for the Ottawa Senators. I think Cam Talbot's comfortable now. I think he's got that 1-game jitters under the belt, out of the way, and the Ottawa Senators at home are going to come out and play. Hey, the Detroit Red Wings have been good lately, and they've actually been pretty good on the road. 4-1 in their last 5, but they actually only have 1 win in their last 6 trips to Ottawa. Ottawa has also, Steele, points in 8 of their last 10 overall against this Detroit Red Wings club, and I think a good game from Cam Talbot tonight holds them down, sends money line -144. That's my first bet. I'm really feeling them at home tonight, Steele.
I like that pick a lot. I would also be going with the Ottawa Senators. They play back-to-back against the Red Wings. So I like the pick as well. I hope Talbot comes out strong because I need it for my fantasy team right now. I need my goalies to kind of help me with this situation for my fantasy team. I like the pick. My first pick, though, I'm going with the Stars on the money line against the Vancouver Canucks. Okay. I was thinking about the puck line, but in recent games, they've either lost or it's a 1-goal game. So I don't want to push it with the puck line. Going to stay with, even though it's the Vancouver Canucks, I'm going to take the Stars on the money line for my first pick. Second pick, I'm taking the Bruins on the money line on the road against the Edmonton Oilers. I just think I have to. Again, I said this like 2 weeks ago. I have zero trust, zero faith in Jack Campbell. Stuart Skinner is kind of up and down. Like he's definitely better than Campbell. But again, not a lot of trust in either of those guys. And Bruins are the best team for a reason. Bruins money line, my second pick, and my lock of the night. I'm actually going to go Avalanche and Golden Knights under 6.5 goals. I think this is going to be a very physical, gritty matchup because we could potentially maybe see this in a playoff atmosphere type of game. But I'm going to take the under 6.5 in this game.
Man, Alexander Georgiev has been so solid for the Colorado Avalanche, playing in back-to-back games this past week as well, and playing very well this season overall. I would say, if it not for the great season from Rantanen, he's their MVP this year, and that's obviously not a bold take. That's just how good he's been. But yeah, Steele, I'm with you. the up and down performances from Jack Campbell, and he looked like he was a little bit of a mess against Columbus on Saturday. I had the Edmonton Oilers, if not for this McDavid Magic steal, and I said this a year ago, and maybe now it makes a lot more sense given what's transpired over the last year. But if this Edmonton Oilers franchise doesn't figure it out and start putting together some winning, both Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will be playing the end of the prime of their careers elsewhere, and I don't think that's a bold take either. Anyway, Bruins on the money line, you're going to give me minus 130 right now, Steele? That's a very, very good price. I'll say this. The Bruins have only 4 wins in their last 13 games against Edmonton Oilers overall, but these are 2 different teams right now, and Boston has won 5 straight on the road, and that is the team right now. Bruins on the money line, that's my second pick. And let's go to that Colorado game, Steele, very quickly, because the Vegas Golden Knights are missing their top goaltender. They got Aiden Hill and Laurent Boissard going in there right now. They've been okay, but Nathan MacKinnon is starting to really, really heat up. And let me just look at this again, 7, 9, 10 points in his last 5 games, including 4 goals. I actually was going to do 2 bets with this, Steele. I was going to go Nathan MacKinnon anytime Apple, but I'm loving the Nathan MacKinnon anytime goal, and that is my lock of the night. Nathan MacKinnon's going to pop at least 1, but I also like him to have a multi-goal game, multi-point game. I could see 1 goal, 2 assists from MacKinnon tonight, but that's my lock of the night, Steele. Big night for Colorado against the Vegas Golden Knights. You predicted under, so give me 4-1 Colorado.
I like that as well. Both of our picks, both of our lock of the nights hits, a 4-1 where MacKinnon gets over 2 points in the game. I like that as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to add that to the parlay.
Might as well.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, though, go check out Game to Game. Every moment, every performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NHL with local analysis that only Locked On hosts can deliver. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.
Hi, this is Walker Mayo, one of the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Instead of hearing me right now, we could be talking about your business and helping you reach local, passionate sports fans just like yourself. Unlike any other podcast, Locked On gives your local company the unique ability to reach local podcast listeners. If your business wants to connect with local sports fans that are well-educated with disposable income, then let's put your company right here on this Locked On podcast. Local fans love to support local businesses. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
Did you watch every NHL game last night? Of course not. That's impossible. So Locked On brings you Locked On Game to Game NHL. With Locked On Game to Game NHL, we take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. And by the end, it's as though you were at every game. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Game to Game NHL, taking you to every arena for every game with the local experts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.